Hello everyone, Calamity here with a huge headache. Today is the release of 3.2 and we're checking out Nahida, who was just released, and we're already right into her talents. We're just going to go over them, as well as the weapon choice, the artifacts, and talk a little bit about her more in depth in her abilities, and then give her a combat test run. And then finally we'll talk about the constellations and summarize with some final thoughts on the character. If you're more interested on a specific part of Nahida, check out the timestamps in the pinned comment. But let's get started. So Nahida, let's start with her normal attacks. She is a catalyst user, so she will have DENDRO damage. This cannot be overridden, at least like with things like Bennett's C6. If you have the Pyro infusions, she will still do DENDRO. Performs up to 4 attacks, seems pretty normal. Charge attack also seems kind of normal-ish. Does a AoE DENDRO damage to opponents in front of her after a short casting. Nothing too crazy there. And then we have the plunging attack, also seems pretty normal. Let's look at the multipliers. You know, kind of low. The charge attack damage has a pretty decent one. However, dang, 50 stamina cost. My goodness, that's pretty high. Plunge damage, low high plunge damage is pretty normal there. All right, let's move on to the elemental skill. So she has a... oh, wait, let me actually read it before looking at the attributes. All right, sends forth a karmic bonds of wood and tree from her side, dealing AoE DENDRO damage, and marking up to 8 opponents hit with the seed of Skandha. When held, this skill will trigger differently. All right, so let's look at the differences. But anyways, entering aiming mode will allow you to select a limited number of opponents, 8, right? Within a limited area. During this time, Nahida's resistance to interruption will be increased. When released, the skill deals DENDRO damage to these opponents and marks them with the seed of Skandha. Aiming mode will last up to 5 seconds and can select up to a maximum of 8 opponents. Alright, and then the seeds of Skandha. Opponents who have been marked by the seed will be linked to one another up until a certain distance after you trigger elemental reactions on opponents who are affected by this seed, or when they take damage. From DENDRO cores, this includes anything from Bargian and Hyperbloom damage as well. Nahida will unleash Tri-Karma Purification on the opponents and all connected opponents, dealing DENDRO damage based on her attack and elemental mastery. You can't trigger at most, or you can trigger at most 1 Tri-Karma Purification within a short period of time. So this is going to make her really great for dealing with groups of enemies. I'm not so sure how, you know, obviously you can't get value out of this on like a boss, right? Because it doesn't matter, you're just going to do it on one enemy, but it could still be pretty good for DENDRO application regardless, even if there isn't like a whole, you know, stuff connecting kind of thing. I'm sure they can still get affected by the seed. Let's look at the multipliers. So this is at level 8, keep in mind. And the press damage, pretty low, and then the hold is okay. But however, it looks pretty spicy once we start looking at the Tri-Karma Purification damage, which is going to do 165.1% of Nahida's attack plus 330%, or 330.2%, excuse me, of her elemental mastery. That sounds pretty good. And the trigger intervals are 2.5 seconds. The seeds last for 25 seconds, so you have quite a bit of time to set up a elemental reaction with her. There's a difference in cooldown depending on if you press or hold by 1 second. Hold being 6 seconds. Not bad. And then let's look at the burst. When the Shrine of Maya field is unleashed, the following effects will be separately unleashed based on the elemental types present within the party. If you have a Pyro, while Nahida remains within the Shrine of Maya, the damage dealt by the Tri-Karma Purification from all schemes to know, I'm not sure what that means. All schemes to know is, oh, that's her skill, sorry, is increased. That's pretty good. Electro, while Nahida remains within the Shrine of Maya, the interval between Tri-Karma Purification from all schemes to know is decreased. So the Pyro increases damage, Electro decreases the interval. I'm sure it's going to say how much in the attributes. Hydro is going to increase the duration of the shrine by... doesn't say. Probably in the skill attributes. If there are at least 2 party members of the aforementioned elemental types present when the field is deployed, the aforementioned effects will be increased further. Holy Holy moly, okay. Even if Nahida is not on the field, these bonuses will still take effect so long as party members are within the Shrine of Maya. And from what we've seen in the videos, the AoE is pretty large. Now, this is also very similar to Traveler's Burst, DENDRO Traveler's Burst, but it has a much bigger AoE, and obviously the effects are a little bit more involved other than just more damage, but it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. Let's look at the attributes. So, if you have one character, the damage increase is going to be by about 23.8%. Pyro, if there's two Pyro characters, then you're going to get 35.7% more damage on her Trikarma Purification. So Electro, wow, this is actually pretty involved. So if you have one character that's Electro, the interval is going to decrease. So it's 2.5 by default. One Electro is going to make it 2.1. Two Electros is going to make it 1.9 second intervals for DENDRO damage. That's pretty good. And then Hydro duration extension. With one Hydro, you extend it by 5.35 seconds. If two, 8.03 seconds. That's kind of a weird scaling, but right off the bat, this is definitely, if you're going to be using Nahida, this is definitely the skill you want to crown. If you're looking to crown something, definitely get this as high as you can. This is going to be an insanely good skill. And I can't, like, with these multipliers, I can't tell right now because we have to actually see, but if we level up the burst, if it also... This is going to be a weird sentence, but if it increases the interval decrease for each character with Electro, that's going to be really strong. Same with the duration. If it also increases the duration of your burst as you level up the burst itself, that's going to be insane. It also only has a 50 energy cost. Oh my goodness. When was the last time we've had a 5-star character with a energy burst or energy cost of less than 80? This is actually really insane. It lasts for 15 seconds with a cooldown of 13.5. You're going to be able to keep consistently doing this burst non-stop. That is actually pretty insane. Let's look at the passive talents next. So we have, when unleashing Illusory Heart, which is the burst, the Shrine of Maya will gain the following effects. The elemental mastery of the active character within the field will be increased by 25% of the elemental mastery of the party member with the highest elemental mastery. You can gain a maximum of 250 elemental mastery in this manner. So that means you can get... that means the person with the most EM should at least have 1,000, right? 1,000 is the most that can be shared because it's going to be 25% of that. That is insane. That is insanely good. That's a lot of EM. That's a lot of EM. And getting 1,000 EM on a character like Nahida is not going to be crazy. I'm sure her Ascension stat is Elemental Mastery, or it might be Energy Recharge. I'm not sure yet. Her weapon, if you decide to go for... You don't even need the signature weapon. Just get a weapon that has Elemental Mastery as a substat, and then main stat Elemental Mastery on her artifacts, and that is easy. 800 to 1,000 Elemental Mastery, especially depending on what set you go for. If you go for something like Gilded Dreams, which gives you additional 80, you know, getting this much Elemental Mastery is not crazy. It's not exactly whale territory either. You can definitely do this. Next up, we have Awakening Elucidated. Each point of Nahida's Elemental Mastery beyond 200, very easy to get, will grant 0.1% bonus damage and 0.03 crit rate to Trikarma Purification from all schemes to know. A maximum of 80% damage bonus and 24% crit rate can be granted to Trikarma Purification in this manner. So by default, because you're going to be building Elemental Mastery, you can be getting a lot of crit rate on your Nahida for free. That 24 is nothing to laugh at, right? And the 80% bonus damage, so you can go hard on crit damage. I mean, you're still going to need a little bit of crit rate, but this talent is going to help alleviate that. That's really nice. And her passive is... Nahida can use her skill to interact with some harvestable items within a fixed AoE. So basically, you can harvest items from a distance just by putting them in the little viewfinder of her skill. Very good. Very useful. Going to save you a lot of time on gathering flowers that are like on sides of a mountain or on cliffs or something that you have to usually climb up and get. All you have to do is just stand on the ground and aim at it, and you will harvest those plants or whatever you're harvesting, and that's going to be really good. The skill may even have some other effects. We saw that in the video, in the live stream, that they used the skill on NPCs and you're able to read their minds. We don't know right now if, well, like, what kind of effect this will have, but maybe you'll get some extra info or other stuff will happen. Whew. All right, that is her talents. Those talents look really, really good. Really, really good talents. Let's look at the weapon. Next up, this is her signature weapon, which looks like an artifact from Deepwood Memory. It's called 1,000 Floating Dreams and has a base attack of 475 with elemental mastery at 241. Now, keep in mind, this is only at 80, so these stats will be a bit higher once you get it to 90. So she's already getting bonus from one of her passive talents because she already, by default, already has 241 elemental mastery thanks to this weapon alone. And we can't really see the artifact stats on her, on her pieces, but obviously they also have the Deepwood Memories set for her. This is going to increase her damage, which is good. Another set that will be good for her if you're just getting really unlucky with Deepwood is going to be Gilded Dreams. Just make sure you have someone in the team though that has this set, because the minus Dendro resistance shred is going to affect obviously her damage, but if you're doing Hyper Bloom teams, if you're doing Burgeon teams, or if you're doing Nilo's sort of teams, that's all Dendro damage, and this will increase it by removing enemies' resistance to Dendro. Back to the weapon, let's look at this really long effect. Party members, other than the equipping character, will provide the equipping character with buffs based on whether their elemental type is the same as the latter or not. If their elemental types are the same, increase elemental mastery by 32. If not, increase equipping character's damage bonus from their elemental type by 10%. Each of the aforementioned effects can stack up to three stacks. Additionally, all nearby party members other than the equipping character will have their elemental mastery increased by 40. Multiple such effects from multiple such weapons can stack. First of all, that last bit is a little interesting because it kind of makes it sound like they're going to make other similar weapons to this. So I'm going to guess this number right here, the 241 elemental mastery, does not include this passive one we're getting from the effect. So this would actually be 281 elemental mastery. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there. I'm not sure again if it counts. So it's basically similar to Gilded Dreams, but the effect is opposite. So if teammates are the same as Nahida's element, Dendro, she'll get more elemental mastery. And if they're not, she'll just get an elemental type damage bonus. So if you have Pyro damage bonus, Electro damage bonus, and so on. Really long effect, but it seems to be just a really huge way to increase elemental mastery, not just for her, but for her whole team. So think of characters that really, really want elemental mastery. If you do use her with Kazuha, even though they don't have synergy, Kazuha will be getting a bonus to his EM, which we all know is great, as well as Sucrose, also great. But characters like Yai Miko, who get extra damage based off her EM, this is going to be amazing for her, and they're going to be best friends. Seriously, they're going to be really, really good friends. I just wanted to look at the attributes real fast before we dive into a combat thing here, and she does only have 701 elemental mastery in total, which is kind of interesting because that seems kind of low for her. Like, again, keep in mind her weapon isn't maxed out, and she herself isn't like max ascension, so there's probably some extra EM she could be getting for free. Not to mention, we don't know her stats on her artifacts. All right, it's finally time to actually try out the character. We got Barbara, we got Lisa, we got Zhonling. These are all characters that can work with Dendro, and we're gonna first let's look at her normal attacks. Whoa. She has interesting attack animation. She attacks on the ground. This is her 4 attacks. Interesting way of attacking. Let's look at the charge. It's just a bigger square. And then the elemental skill, this is the press version. Just really quick AoE damage. And then the hold version should be the viewfinder. So now we would put enemies in the little square, and this would connect them with the Tri-Karma Purification, which seems to be where most of her damage comes from. Obviously, we don't have the burst ready to go, so we can't showcase that just yet. But let's give it a go. Whoops. Let's use the skill. And use her attacks. Oh, we have the burst ready to go. Oh. Really, really good DENDRO application right off the bat. Okay, probably didn't want to use that there, but it's okay. Use the burst again. There you go. Really easy to use that, by the way. Very easy to use the skill. Let's use the burst again. We're getting so much energy. So you can see that they're connected. This is the Tri-Karma Purification. You see the little tether between them, which means when you do elemental reactions, they're gonna take even more increased damage. Obviously, that wasn't really good showcase. But that is a quick test run. Really, really cool character. Very unique attacking animations. This is this is definitely unique. It feels like she's doing what I'm doing on my keyboard, which is mashing the buttons. I like her initially. The skill, you're probably not gonna use this tap version unless you just need some like quick damage, I suppose, but you definitely want to just use the hold version. Tag as many enemies as you can, and I mean that's really easy. And then, you know, just once you have them tagged, you either use your burst or swap to someone else and start going ham with the elemental reactions. Last bit we're gonna do is we're gonna check out her constellations. Now that we are familiar with her talents as well as trying her out, let's see what her constellations give her. First one is called the Seed of Stored Knowledge. When the Shrine of Maya is unleashed and the elemental types of the party members are being tabulated, that's a weird word, the count will add 1 to the number of pyro. Oh my god. It will add 1 to the number of pyro, electro, and hydro characters respectively. So that means, if you don't quite understand, you basically have all of the level 1 buffs that her burst will provide for free. Meaning, even if you don't have a hydro in your party, you will still get that increased duration, at least the tier 1. So if you only have 1 hydro with this constellation, you're gonna have level 2. So let's say you have 1 electro, pyro, and hydro, you're gonna have level 2 of all 3 buffs that can be applied to her burst. That is already an insanely good constellation. Oh my god. C2 is the root of all fullness. Opponents that are marked by her skill applied by Nahida herself will be affected by the following effects: Burning, Bloom, Hyper Bloom, and Burgeon reaction damage they receive can score crit hits. Crit rate and crit damage are fixed at 20% and 100% respectively. Within 8 seconds of being affected by Quicken, Aggravate, Spread, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So this constellation is going to increase the damage of your Hyper Bloom teams. I guess there's a few of you that are running Burgeon teams. Bloom, if you're using Nilo. It is fixed, but that's still a good increase to damage there. And if you're doing the Aggravate teams, which is much more popular, you just got a 30% increase in damage since it's going to shred 30% defense. Holy moly, this character's constellations are insane. C3, as we already know, is going to be +3 to her skill, so that's going to be a bit more damage, which is nice, especially the Tri-Karma stuff. C4. When 1, 2, 3, or 4 or more nearby opponents are affected by her skill, seeds of the Skandha Nahida's are affected by her skill, Nahida's elemental mastery will be increased by up to 160. Wow. So this is also going to just give her straight up a huge increase in damage. and meeting those elemental mastery requirements. If you get this and you have a lot of elemental mastery on your Nahida, you can actually start trying to go for other stuff like more crit rate, crit damage, because this is going to free up some of those stats. I think you do just want to hit about 1,000 or so elemental mastery with Nahida and probably just start focusing on either on energy recharge, maybe not even energy recharge because her burst cost is so low, but crit damage, crit rate, attack percentage. You could start focusing on other stats just to make her even do more damage, which is kind of insane. C5 is going to do +3 to her burst. This is going to be a really good constellation. It's going to give you a lot more damage. And let's see the C6, which is hopefully a broken one as well. When Nahida hits an opponent affected by her skill, Seeds of Skandha with normal or charge attacks after unleashing her burst, she will use... Oh my goodness, this is quite a long effect. She will use Tri-Karma Purification, Karmic Oblivion on this opponent, and all connected opponents dealing Dendro damage based on 200% of Nahida's attack and 400% of her elemental mastery. Damage dealt by Tri-Karma Purification, Karmic Oblivion is considered elemental skill damage and can be triggered once every 0.2 seconds. This effect can last up to 10 seconds and will be removed after Nahida has unleashed 6 instances of Tri-Karma Purification, Karmic Oblivion. That was a lot to read, but basically this is going to turn Nahida into a main DPS, because right now she works as a good Dendro applicator. Drop the burst, switch over to your teammates and do the, do your elemental reactions and go ham with your main DPS. This, however, is going to turn into a main one, especially when it comes to groups of enemies, because you're going to be getting so much value off the Tri-Karma Purification. I think it's a really strong constellation. Obviously, it's not needed. Nahida is going to be fine as is, even at C0, and give you plenty of damage to your team and make your reactions just do so much more damage. And yeah, she's fine even at C0. Just so rare. But her constellations, C1, C2, are amazing. Oh my goodness. They are amazing constellations. Alright, y'all, that's gonna do it for this quick look at Nahida. Initial impressions, first impressions of her is that she is an amazing character, just like other Archons that have come before her. A very, very strong character to have. No matter what you decide to do with her, if you decide to use her for your Nilo, if you decide to use her for an Aggravate team, it doesn't even matter who the Electro units are. Use who you want. If you're gonna do even a Burgeon team, sounds good with her. No matter what, it's gonna go well. She is an insanely strong character right off the bat. Even weapon options, although the 5-star does look tempting, keep in mind there's also plenty of 3-star, even 4-star weapons that provide elemental mastery as a substat as well. Feel free to use those if you don't want to or can't afford to pull the 5-star weapon. Artifacts wise, very easy. Deepwood Memory or Gilded Dreams, depending on what your team comp looks like, and depending on what artifacts the RNG gods grace you with, feel free to choose a set at your discretion. Teams wise, obviously she's brand new, so we don't know what the best teams are going to be with her, but she just has so many good teams that she can work with. It's fine, whatever you decide to choose. In fact, let me know what team you want to run with Nahida. I'm very interested to see the teams you guys are going to run her with. But yeah, she's amazing. Good luck if you're pulling for her. What an amazing character. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching, and good luck on your pulls.